issue, it may not have gotten as much attention as the aforementioned Congressman Anthony Weiner's now infamous tweet, but a lot of people were struck by a recent retweet by one of your colleagues, Tommy Wells, that shared one resident's comment that during the redistricting process, Jack Evans was trying to drop any area that isn't lily white and rich. How would you respond, and how would you describe the approach behind the draft redistricting plan that was floated last month? First, your approach for your response to Congressman Wells retweeting that resident's comment.
Well, let me say this. As I've said from the beginning, redistricting is the issue that brings out the worst in people. In my 20 years on the council, this will be my third time going through it. And of all the issues that I have dealt with or we have dealt with on the council, nothing rivals redistricting for people who otherwise act in a civil fashion to become completely not civil with each other. The quote you read is another example of someone saying something about me. I wish Councilmember Wells had not retweeted it, because when one does that, it almost says, I agree with this and I'm sending it out. And
have you spoken to Councilmember Wells about this matter? Or you guys have had you've called some of his remarks snarky on the dais, and you've had a little back and forth, but have you actually spoken to him away from the council?
No, I have not. So in any event, what I've tried to do in all of this, and I know my colleagues Michael Brown and Phil Mendelson, who are also involved on the committee, is just to you accept the criticisms and move on, because you know that that's part of the process that you're involved in.
So people who are not involved in the redistricting may not know too much about it, but just it seems like the core issue is that you're taking part of Capitol Hill, which is part of our Ward 6 area, and you're brusquely cutting it off at 17th Street up near the Congressional Cemetery and pushing that into Ward 7 to balance the wards. And one of the witnesses, I actually was on vacation, but I sat there and watched it for several hours. Fortunately, I wasn't in the room for several hours. One person said that you don't really have to make all these changes, that even if you don't make the changes, you're still within the legal definition of a little bit over or a little bit under in terms of representation. You don't really have to do anything. Is that true?
Yes, there is some sense to that. And let me kind of explain how we got to where we are. And let me also emphasize we are not finished yet.
Oh, that's the news right there. You're going to make changes. What changes are you going to make?
Well, I'm not sure what changes we're going to make, but I can assure you that Council Members Brown, Mendelson, and I, after our 7-hour hearing that went on to 1:05 in the morning, day before yesterday, are seriously looking at the proposed plan that we put out. We got a lot of input back, and we're looking at many of the suggestions that have been made, and very well may make some changes, but at this point I don't have any information as to what they might be. So it's not the final plan yet. But let me just...
Is there hope for Ward 6 in this, people who want to stay as a contiguous group?
As I said, I don't want to give anybody hope at the moment. I just want to let everybody know that we heard what was said all around the boundary lines, and we're taking a real serious look at that. But we got to where we were because when the census numbers came out, there were 3 wards in the city that did not fall within the federal guidelines. Federal guidelines being the average ward should have 75,000 people plus or minus 2,500 or 3,000. Ward 2 had more than the 78,000, and wards 7 and 8 had less than the 72,000. And so by federal law, we had to make changes, and of course they're not contiguous to each other, as you pointed out. So we had to make changes in either wards 5 or 6 to get 7 and 8 with more people and 2 with less people. And so you could have done it such that Ward 7 and 8 had the minimum amount of people, and Ward 2 would have the maximum amount of people, or you could try and get everybody toward the 75,000. So what we have tried to do is try to get the wards close to equal at the 75,000, but that has necessitated, as you said, Tom, more changes than are necessary if you wanted to stay at the minimum. So, but we're still looking at everything, and I want people to understand that.